A Tesla Model S for kids, VR TV shows, and a speaker that you can swallow? That's what I like. Hello again, guys, and welcome back. This is another episode of this weird weekly thing that I'm doing where I talk about the things that I found on the internet that I thought were amusing. First up, if you're into video games, and you know that I am, Sega's made a handful of games free on Steam right now, so you can get a whole bunch of classic games along with things like Hell Yeah and Jet Set Radio. I picked up the bundle earlier. I introduced my son to the game Hell Yeah, and he just absolutely loved it. Relatively simple platformer game, and Jet Set Radio is just sort of a staple from the past, so make sure you go check those out, completely free. Peter Mayhew, the guy that's played Chewbacca in all the Star Wars movies this far, has been making people on Twitter go all giggly because he has started sharing pages from the original Star Wars script on Twitter. He says he's hinting and building up to a big announcement that he's got coming up, so of course be sure to follow him on Twitter and see what he's up to, but more importantly, follow him on Twitter and see all of the awesome stuff that's coming out, behind the scenes stuff about the original Star Wars movies. A sort of interesting Indiegogo campaign was mentioned on several different blogs, and it was mentioned not because it's an awesome project and not because it was fully funded. In fact, it was only funded like $140. It was for something called the Audio Pill, and essentially it's a little thumper that you swallow, and you use Bluetooth to set the speed that it thumps at. From reading through the project, it's kind of odd. It seems more like an art project than an actual product. Luckily, we don't have to worry too much about it because it isn't something that actually got funded, but the idea was that you could have this whole beat, this whole groove going on inside of your head. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing this for a little bit. That the way that it would interact with your body would interact with your brain, and you could feel the beat, and moving certain magnets or certain accessories around on your outside of your body would make different signals reach your brain. It sounds like a person on ecstasy said, "Dude, I've got this amazing idea. We make this, we swallow, and you will hear," and then this happened. That's enough about that. That's enough crazy dancing. Moving on. Some excellent camera news came out this week. If you followed this channel for a little while, you may realize that I have a bit of an issue when it comes to cameras. I can't stop buying them. I can't stop reading about them. So as of this week, Pentax has officially unveiled their very first full-frame DSLR. It's called the K1. It runs about $1,800 for just the body, which compared to a lot of the other offerings from other manufacturers, is not that bad. I will say it, the first DSLR I ever owned was a Pentax, and it took some excellent quality photos, didn't do video at the time, and actually I can't seem to remember anything coming out from the articles that I've read about it so far as to whether or not it actually supports video. It didn't mention 4K, so I'm going to assume that it's not going to be hugely useful for somebody like me. Not that I use 4K at the moment, but it's got a 36.4 megapixel full-frame sensor, top ISO sensitivity of 204,800. And yeah, there it is, 1080p 30 frames per second video. I'm good. I've already got a full-frame DSLR that'll do 1080p 30 that's sitting collecting dust on a shelf. But either way, if you're interested in full-frame photography, I know there are some of you guys out there, this might be worth a look. One of the things that originally drew me to Pentax was that they put image stabilization into the body, and I think they did that with the K1, so you don't have to pay a lot extra on your lenses to get image stabilization, you just get it built into the body. I think Sony does something similar. Maybe it's Olympus, I can't remember. Canon also released some updates to some of their cameras. They put out a new 80D, which is really targeting the video market. The 70D is marketed as one of the best cameras for people like myself, entry-level filmmakers, YouTubers, things like that. I'm definitely not using a Canon DSLR at this point. I'm using a Panasonic Lumix G7 because it was ridiculously cheap. It can do 4K video. I'm using it for 1080p at 60 frames per second, and it cost me about $420 when you consider that it was bundled with a mic that's worth about $250. That's right there. But the Canon 80D, which if you say it fast enough sounds like ADD, is coming, will be available soon. Looks like the price on it is a little bit high, at least as far as I'm concerned, for something like that, but I think it's right in line with all the previous models like it, the 60D, the 70D, and now 80D. In better news though, they also released a new version of the Canon G7X. The G7X is one of the most popular vlogging cameras here on YouTube. Most of the big daily vloggers use either the Canon G7X or the Sony RX100 Mark something, whichever one is the most recent at the time. The previous G7X was basically kind of a few steps behind the RX100. The newest version looks like it's about on par with the RX100 Mark III, which is actually the last generation model, because it can do 1080p 60 frames per second video. The new RX100 can do 4K video as well as 1080p 60. So it kind of feels like Canon's playing catch up, but I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of YouTubers that pick up the G7X Mark II. It's going to be available for I think $699, which does put it at significantly cheaper than Sony's offering. I can't honestly say that I could justify picking one up myself, but it still would be kind of tempting. Moving on to some VR stuff, because you know I love talking about that. Actually, not too long ago, Viewmaster unveiled their VR headset for Android and iOS devices. It was basically Google Cardboard with plastic wrapped around it and see-through glass on the back so that you could do augmented reality stuff. And actually, I haven't spent much more time with it than what you're seeing right here. I unboxed it very quickly, Started working on a video about it, never finished it. Let me know if you'd like to see a video about this and I can continue working on it. I just haven't gotten there yet. But there are a lot of people that picked that up for 30 bucks and had immediate problems with it because one, you cannot adjust the eyes, you can't adjust the focal distance and the pupillary distance and everything. And two, there's not really a way to hook headphones up to your phone. So once you've got your phone in there, you can't really interact with it, you can't get immersed into it. This new version apparently deals with both of those things, and it's going to be available for 30 bucks. So it's supposed to be the best Google Cardboard option out there that's not actually cardboard and does come with a little button, because it's a Viewmaster. Sci-Fi, the TV network, has announced they're putting out a VR crime drama, speaking of VR, that you're going to be able to watch using the Oculus Rift. Now, I can't honestly say that I'm really interested in watching a crime drama. This one's going to be called Halcyon, and it looks like it's going to have 10 episodes on the Sci-Fi channel and then 5 episodes that are Oculus Rift VR headset only. But if you don't have a VR headset, you can always watch their recaps online. So it won't have the whole episodes, but you'll still be able to get the gist of it. And it mentions virtual reality detectives. So it's an interesting topic. I think it's really just a grab at VR is really hot right now. We must make something VR related. Must stay relevant. I'll probably check it out when the time comes if they actually make it available without me having to give them all of the money. And one last VR thing, the Virtuix Omni. More information has come out about that. I think I've actually seen the Virtuix Omni at CES the last multiple times that I've been. Anytime you go and see anything VR related, they've usually got an Oculus Rift on some guy's head. He's got a fake gun in his hand and he's in this weird little harness on some sort of a treadmill looking disc that he's running on. Well, there was an article on CNET talking about it with a video of the guy using it. It's like 700 bucks and it's not exactly a treadmill. You wear these really slick shoe slipper things over your feet and you run on it while you're wearing the headset and while you've got everything on and you're mounted in here. It's a really, really complex thing. If you want to have a home VR setup, it would be fine for that, but it's a one-person thing. It's not powered or anything, so you're going to be the one doing all of the movement in it. It's not a treadmill per se. Still an interesting concept, I suppose, so I thought I'd mention it. An article popped up on all of the sites that I actually didn't get notification about, which was kind of interesting. I say that because I normally get notifications whenever Ubuntu says things, but there's a new smartphone coming with Ubuntu preloaded, the Meizu Pro 5. From the looks of it, it's got some pretty decent specs on it. It's got a 1080p display, an 8-core ARM processor, MediaTek I'm sure, USB Type-C port, 32 or 64 gigs of storage, and it comes running Ubuntu for phones. Now, if this is anything like the previous Ubuntu phones I've used, it's going to be a really interesting experience. The apps are going to be a little bit limited, and it's probably not going to work here in the States. So that's about all I'm going to say about it for now. Moving on to other technologies, though, I absolutely love my Amazon Echo, and apparently as of this week, Echo can talk to thermostats. Specifically only the Ecobee, so not all of the thermostats. I have the Sensi Wi-Fi thermostat that I use and I love, and it will not talk to that quite yet. But it is very cool to see Amazon continuing to build upon this one product. It actually makes me want to go out and purchase more of the Echoes. Mattel has announced a $300 3D printer that they're creating called the ThingMaker, and it's going to allow you to print your own toys. I think this is what a lot of people had in mind whenever they started thinking about 3D printers to begin with, so Mattel is making it a possibility. But one of the cool things I'm seeing here about it is it actually works with iOS and Android as well. I made a video a while back about a product from Autodesk where you could design your own characters. This sounds very, very similar to that. So looking forward to seeing more about that. Not saying that I would pay $300 to get one myself, because I do already have a 3D printer. And this one kind of looks like it has a smaller print area than the one I already have. But still, if you're in the market for a 3D printer, I'd be willing to bet this one can print things other than just toys, so it might be worth a look. As I mentioned in the opening, there's now a Tesla Model S for kids. Radio Flyer has made, in collaboration with Tesla, a scale model of the Tesla Model S that kids can drive. Sort of like a Power Wheels, but if I remember correctly, this is about $500 and it's going to be available in May. My oldest son did not like anything like that, any sort of outdoor driving and riding toys, but I do have a new baby in the house, so maybe by the time he's a little bit older, this may be in our driveway. Moving on to some drone quadcopter related news. There were a bunch of stories on Gizmodo where they talked about new upcoming drones and quadcopters, and I couldn't really find links from any of them, but I wanted to talk about them anyway. Airhogs has been making quadcopters for a while now. Apparently they tweaked one of theirs. They made it a different shape and size to make it a racing quadcopter. Sounds very cool. They say it's $60 on their website. I can't find it on the Airhogs website or the Spin Master website, because I would probably order one right now if that were the case. If you happen to find one, please do let me know down below. I will definitely go purchase one and make a video about it. And actually, the last thing I thought I would talk about, they also mentioned a flyable upcoming $120 USS Enterprise. Now, unfortunately, if this is anything like the Millennium Falcon that was released by Airhogs not too long ago, not going to be the best. It's going to be more of a showpiece, more of a big open gathering at a party. Look at this cool thing I can do. Fly it around, don't actually try to fly it for fun kind of thing. Again, still very neat that it's possible. The links to everything that I talked about can be found down in the video description, and that's actually going to be about all for me for today. I'll be doing a video over on XDA tonight, you can see tomorrow, so make sure to check out the description for the link to that as well when it's available. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe to receive more of my videos when they become available, and we will see you again next time. You still have the same barn doors, they still open the exact same way, still comes with the diffuser panel that I'm actually using, which still slides in just like this. Although I will say, if you look at my YN300 Mark III that I'm using